last year I was in Kentucky and I get a message from Sam and Jen, the co-founders, and they're like, have you watched this documentary? It's called The Kid. It's on YouTube. I was like, no, but I love sports documentaries. I'll watch it. I watched it. It was really good. It was made by Brady Clayton. And he was like, what if we did a documentary on your story? Because we have a meeting with the director next week. And I was like,
wow. Wow.
And they were like, yeah, I think this could be really cool. Never in my life did I actually think they were going to go through with it. I was like, nah, like, there's no way. Like, seriously, like, one, it's probably going to be so expensive. There's no way we can afford it. And two, like, I don't know. It just seems so far-fetched, you know? And then they had the meeting and they were like, hey, like, I think we can do this. I think we can find the investors and we can do it. Would you be down? And I was like, yeah? Are you kidding me? Of course. And it happened so fast. I mean, I was in Kentucky in July, August, September, and then we started filming in November. Like, they got the investors, they, pulled the funds, and Pegasus organized the whole thing, and the director was super into it. And I was like, wow. And I just want to be able to break the equestrian sports glass ceiling of rider-only fan base.
Yes.
Because and if it's successful, like, it'll show the sport in a really good light, and it'll show why people should care about it, why it's so special, why it's so hard, I think is going to change the way people see our sport, and it's just going to give insight of how it really is, and how much we take care of the horses and what it takes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stable Exchange podcast. On today's episode, we are chatting with Gaby Reutter, who some of you may know as Chile's #1 female show jumper. And a lot of you also probably know her as one of the very first professional riders to really go all in on building a personal brand through social media. Today, Gaby has over 100,000 followers on Instagram, a huge audience on TikTok, and in today's episode, she breaks down exactly how her first viral TikTok started as somewhat of a happy accident, and she has just really focused on growing a strong, authentic, personal brand to help gain visibility as a professional rider in the industry, gain sponsors, but she's also thinking bigger and looking to get more visibility for the horse industry as a whole, which you will see culminate in a documentary that she has coming out this July. No matter what you specialize in the horse industry, if you are looking to build a strong personal brand and build a community around your brand or your business in the industry, I just know you are going to love this episode. So, Gaby, you grew up in Chile and moved to the U.S. when you were 17 years old. I would love for you to start by taking us back to your early days riding in Chile. What was that like? And did you always know at that time that you wanted to become a professional rider?
Yeah, no, I didn't, but I was quick to find it out. I started riding when I was 4. We had a beach house and about 2 hours from Santiago, which is where I'm from, which is the capital of Chile. And we would always, basically my parents built it while my mom was pregnant with me. So it was a big, big part of my life because I was born into this beach house. We would go every weekend we could. We would spend summers there. And on the way to the beach from the beach house, we would pass by this polo place, and they always had horses on paddocks and stuff. And my mom loves horses and loves animals. So one of the activities was stopping by and saying hi to the horses. And in one of these times, my mom realized that with old polo ponies, they were doing lessons for kids. And that's when she was like, ooh, I want Gaby to learn how to ride. I know how to ride basic, so it'd be super fun. And then she signed me up for lessons, and that's kind of how I started. But I always really loved animals. I'm that type of person that is almost hyper detailed on animals. I'll see an animal on the road and immediately be like, okay, are they healthy? Do they look good? Stuff that normal people I feel don't realize. And I didn't realize that this was a weird thing until one of my friends pointed it out. And she was like, why do you always realize that the horses are skinny if they're eating, if they look good? On the side of the road.
Yeah.
What, what? I was like, is
Yeah.
that weird? Like, don't people always think about how animals are doing? Uh, that was
Very strong
interesting.
empathy.
Yeah, like a very good connection with animals in general. And that's how I started writing. And it was like a few lessons a week and then just kind of kept growing. Although I always tell this story because the first time I trotted on a horse, I started crying and I did not want to go back.
No way.
Yeah, I was 4 and like, I don't know, a few after my lessons, like first you start with getting to know the horse, doing like,
Yeah.
pirouettes and like getting comfortable. And then you get to the trotting and that's when you feel like out of control because then you're like moving fast and bouncing
Yeah.
around and, you
It's a
know,
big step. Yeah,
yeah, so I
and
started crying.
before you know how to post, it could be a little bit unsettling if you're just
Yeah,
bouncing
you're like
around in the
all
saddle.
over the place. Like all over the place. So I was crying. I like got out of the lesson to the side, like I was bawling. I like called for my mom. I wanted to
Wow.
get off. And then she didn't even let me get off the horse. She was like, just stay here for the rest of the lesson and do other stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And so my mom was like, okay, fine. Like, let's see if you want to come back. And I was like, so adamant. I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. And she was like, "Well, too bad. I prepaid for the whole summer, so you're gonna have to go."
And it sounds like thank God she did, because I think a lot of kids have that experience, or you have your first fall and you're
Mhm.
nervous to go back. And could you imagine if you just had stopped there? Your
I know,
whole life would look different.
so different. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe at some point I would have been like, "Okay, I want to try again," but I have no idea. But I literally went back the next day and I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll do this." And I am a very perseverant and resilient person, so I think once I like got through it, I was like, "Okay." Even at that age, I was like, "No, I have to do it. Like I have to get
Yes.
past it." Then if like after I don't like it, fine. That's what my mom said. Like, but you have to get over the fear. She was like, "You have to get over the fear. You have to trust the horse." Like
Mhm.
she knew that part of the riding because she was
Yeah.
like, she would ride bareback at her grandfather's farm, like very low key, like jump logs, like
Yep.
nothing remotely professional. But yeah, so then my dad just blames my mom for all the bills we had after.
That's usually how it goes. I think so many parents, especially with girls, I think parents get their kids into summer like pony camp or riding lessons, and you think it's like a cute little phase. And then to a lot of parents' dismay, it becomes a lifelong passion, which I mean, luckily it's been working in your favor. So what was that turning point for you as you started to develop as a writer? What was that turning point that made you say, this isn't just a hobby for me,
Mm.
this is what I want to build my career in?
I think when I realized that was a possibility. So it went increasing pretty quickly. Like it started from a few lessons a week to like every day. And then I would be
Okay.
in every lesson. So they had like beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then they had to make a different lesson for me with the teacher because I was like past that.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't just when we were at the beach house, then it was when we were in the city. And then I was like, okay, I would like every night before going to bed, I would wish to get a horse. Like I wanted my own horse,
Mm.
I wanted my horse. I was like, I did that for, I don't know, years. And finally my dad bought me my first horse, which was less than $1,000, which is like
Wow.
crazy to me. And we thought it was
Wow.
so expensive. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Now that's like 2 shoeings. It's
Oh,
insane. It's insane.
it's
It's insane.
unreal.
But anyway, and yeah, so then it just kept on progressing. And I remember one time I was sitting on the hill watching a class, and I had kind of realized that this was an Olympic sport
Okay.
at that point. And I just remember looking at it, and to me, it felt huge. I have no idea. It probably wasn't that big, but it looked like a huge thing. And I was like, I want to be there. I want to be competing. And this was at 8 years old, and I want to go to the Olympics for show jumping. And I like that
Wow.
held that moment. I like said those words out loud, and I was like, okay, here we go.
That's incredible. And I know that's something I want to chat about a little later in this episode, because I know that's a goal you still have your sights set on. So kind of going from 8 years old to the time that you first visited Wellington for the first time, what was that moment that brought you from Chile to the US to compete in Wellington? And what did you think of that experience for the first time?
Yeah, so I started. competing internationally at 12. I went to Paraguay, I went to Argentina,
Wow.
and then I went to Brazil. So we did a bunch of more local, like around South America. And this going to Wellington for the season wasn't a thing. Like nobody talked about it. I think there were one or two Chileans that had gone, but were already living outside of Chile.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know how my dad found out that there was a clinic going on in Wellington.
Okay.
No clue. I cannot remember. I think it was from like some friends from one of the out competitions in Argentina that we kind of found out that they were going. So we were like, oh, okay, what is Wellington? No idea.
Yeah.
And that was when I was 16. So that was my first time. And I came for, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. And I ended up staying for like 2 months.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, it's like, I wish I could live it again because it was like, it's Disneyland for horse people. You're like, there's
Yeah.
horses everywhere. There's like crosswalks for horses. The button is higher in case you're on a horse across the street. Like everything says slow, like horses have priority. And like, you
Yeah.
know, everything is for horse people. You're so close. You have this amazing competitions. I saw the best riders. It was like a lot of stimulus and very overwhelming. Um, the clinic itself wasn't great.
Oh,
Like
really?
the trainer was not great and then got into a lot of scandal and stuff like that. So like that part.
Um,
But, like, I'm still very thankful that I took the leap and went because that's how I discovered it, and that's how I ended up later
yes.
with Chris and realized that I needed to find someone that was really good. But that was my first taste of Wellington. So,
Yes.
anyway, you take, like, some good things from everyone, I guess, and
Yeah.
but, yeah, so that was my first experience, and then as soon as I got back home, I was like, "No, like, 1, I realized that I wasn't good enough, and 2, I was like, there's a whole world out there, like, the sport in Chile, like, I hit a ceiling, you know, and I was like, I have to keep finding these experiences, and so that's when I found Chris, and I messaged him, I emailed him, and I was like, "Can I please come ride with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, these are the costs, this is what it's, here you can come for the season," and my dad was like, "Okay, let's try it, like, figure it out and go." And then I did my first official season in 2014, and I was in high school then, like my last year of high school. Missed like 250 sessions of class.
And it sounds like they still let you finish school at least, which is
Yeah,
good.
I was always like an A student, so like
Yeah.
they figured, my school was really good. Like the motto of the school was like finding your passion. So I was like the ideal student that she found her passion. But I remember my
You were
classmates
living
would
it.
always laugh because they'd be in the class and the teacher would be like going in attendance and then it'll be like, okay, Gabriela Reuter, and everyone would be like, she's with her horse.
They didn't understand.
And so that part was funny. But yeah, my school was super, super supportive. I think in since I started show it like riding and missing school to that was probably like in, I don't know, third grade or something till I graduated. I think I had an issue once or twice, like about a test that I had to like retake or couldn't take or whatever.
That's
But
amazing. Well, and I mean, how many high schoolers do you know even now that are that passionate about what they know they want to do for their career and they actually start taking those steps to work towards that at
yeah,
such a young age? Most people, even post college, are still trying to figure that out. And I know it clearly didn't impact your academic skills at all because I know you went on to study at NYU as well once you
yeah.
did move to the US. So what were those first couple of years like transitioning from, it sounds like you built a reputation as a writer in Chile and then came to Wellington. Did you feel as though you had to maybe kind of start back from square one a little bit and kind of learn any different nuances? And what were the biggest differences that you noticed between writing and training in Chile versus Wellington?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like a big hit in the face. Like I was like runner-up national champion, won qualifiers to go to the South American Games, like first in the ranking of my category for
Yeah.
years, And then I got to the US and one, there's a lot more riders, so the competition is way, way more intense. And the courses are so much more complicated,
Oh,
you know?
interesting. Yeah.
So you like you have to have your basics are like a big, big thing. And if you don't have
Mhm.
that, then like everything just starts to crumble.
Yeah.
Had that, so I had to really work on my basics, like step down. Like I was jumping 145 in Chile and I had to step down to like the 120s. Like Chris would not let me go higher than that until I was riding properly and safely, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, so that was one. And then the other, my mental game. I was struggling a lot in
Mhm.
Chile, like on and off. Like I worked with some sports psychologists that helped me, but that, that I had a lot of things that I had to figure out. Like I had an eating disorder, then I had mental like blocks from, feeling anxious, putting too much pressure on myself
Yeah.
and like and then like my writing. So it was a lot, you know? And it took years to figure everything out and it was step by step, one like having the foundation and having Chris's program that really kind of just settled in and it was like what to
Yeah.
expect, everything very correct, learned how to manage my horses, learned how to do proper flat work, learned how to translate that into writing and just like all these little details that before I kind of took for granted
Mhm.
that really change your game. So that was one part. And then we had the mental game that also he helped me. He was like, okay, like we're struggling with this. Like we need a sports psychologist. Like here are some books. Like that's when I got really into
That's
reading
amazing.
and helping myself other than just getting help from other people and just being like,
Yeah.
okay, here's what I have to work on. Watched a bunch of documentaries, read a bunch of books, started journaling. And then it was the whole, like, section about my physical strength, like, I had the talent, but I
Mm.
wasn't strong enough because I wasn't eating
Mhm.
enough, and I wasn't focused, I didn't have the right focus, you know?
Yeah.
So, for all of that to come together, I think it took, like, 10 years.
Oh, I can imagine. Thank you for sharing that because, the horse industry, I think sometimes we wear the idea of mental toughness as a little bit of a badge of honor.
Mm,
And, even for me, just growing up as like a pleasure rider, I never did anything beyond a couple little schooling shows. And you still have those trainers where if you fall off, you got to just rub some dirt in it and get back on and not show any emotion, not show any feeling. And I think it's important to talk about though, because at your level of the sport, you really have to take those things seriously. And it sounds like you were really lucky to have a trainer that kind of gave you that space and said, no, this is important. You have to take your mental health as seriously as your physical fitness, which I think the physical fitness side is something I see a lot more riders starting to talk about now. But so much of what I knew growing up was you put so much emphasis on the horse and their physical fitness, and you don't always think about what you have to do as the rider to make sure that you're showing up for your horse in the same way that you expect or want your horse to
yeah.
show up for you too.
No, exactly, and also just the mentality, it was like a big switch for me. So it's been a whole transformation,
Yeah.
and I think that's why it's also a long trajectory, when you don't have these things in place from the beginning, which is when I'm teaching now, like I'm teaching kids, I'm trying to instill this in them from the beginning because I think that would have fast tracked everything for me,
Yeah.
It just one, mental health wasn't talked enough.
Hmm.
10 years ago, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
you couldn't show. I mean, for me saying that I went to a sports psychologist in Chile at 12 years old was like, "Are you crazy?" Like, literally people were like, "Are you crazy? Like, is that why
Wow.
you have to?" Now
It's a
it's
big
like,
deal.
that professional athletes do it. Same thing with
Yes.
the gym. Like, I was at the gym at 12 years old and it was like,
Wow.
Why?" I was like, "Well, I don't feel strong enough." Like, you know, it's like, but like the horse does everything. And I'm like, no.
The biggest misconception.
Like, I wish because I didn't even have to work this hard. And if you like it looks like that's happening, like, yes, like, thank you. Biggest compliment, but yeah, so when I am teaching, I'm like constantly, one, making sure that my students are talking about it, talking about their emotions. Like, are you scared? Tell me you're scared. Because once you voice it, it's so much better.
Mm.
Like, are you nervous? Tell me you're nervous. Like, what's going through? And I try that. I try also to make sure they're cross training, they're stretching. Like, if I feel like,
Yep.
all these things that I wish somebody had told me way earlier, I'm like, here, take it, please,
Take this wealth of knowledge and wisdom
please,
now and start with the strong foundation.
Yeah, and like the same thing when I start teaching people, I'm always like basics, basics, basics. Like we're not moving up until I feel like you're ready to win and it's safe.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to tell parents too. It's like, we need to go step by step. It's way easier to go little by little than to jump and then have to jump way down because now confidence is down. The horse doesn't feel good, all
Yes.
these things. So,
Yes. Well,
yeah,
and that in and of itself teaches some perseverance as well. You don't just get it because you feel as though you've been riding for X number of years and you deserve it. You have to really earn it, which is important.
yeah, and it's hard, it's especially hard in a sport where, unfortunately, if you have a better financial situation, you can fast track more, and that's
Yeah.
frustrating. If you're training 1 hour because you have one horse a day versus you have seven horses, you're training 7 hours, it's a big difference. So
Yes.
that's also a big part of the sport, but again, like we can't get frustrated with that because it's different realities. And also someone's always going to be better off. Someone's always going to be worse off, like, and I'm
Yeah.
super grateful for where I am. Obviously, I would have been like, man, I wish I had so many more horses. Man, I wish I had the the money to go travel the world. But it's like this is what I got, and this is what I'm gonna do with what I got and do the best I can.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I have a lot of questions about how you have thought about just diversifying your income as a professional writer. And I'd love to chat a little bit about your journey and career as a content creator as well, because you've taken an approach that I really haven't seen done so successfully by a lot of professional writers. So I would love to know a little bit more about how you started your journey as a content creator. I've heard you share the story before of how it sounds like it was a little bit of a happy accident. For our audience who might not be familiar with your content yet, you now have over 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is like truly an incredible feat, especially in a very niche industry. There aren't a lot of creators who have made it to that level. So, can you tell us that story about that first video that you had that went viral?
yeah. So I used to like I made my professional profile. I think I was still in college. It probably was like 2019, and it was very curated, very like I won this thing. Here is my round. Like everything's perfect. Blah 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 blah. But also like that's when I was starting my journey as like going through like mental health stuff, and I was like, well, like if I'm struggling, someone else must be struggling also. So I actually started a blog at the beginning, and I would write things about like journal and things about rounds that didn't go well, like how I felt, like basically what I would write in my journal, I would just share it. And
Okay.
I didn't have a big following, but like people who read it were like, thank you for talking about this. Like I fell, like this is really helpful, or I had a bad
Mm.
round. Like it's nice to see that other people struggle.
It's
So
a
that
great
was
way
like
to
a little,
build community
yeah.
too. And that's like the OG version of content creation is blogging.
But I didn't even, I had a website. It was called My Ride and Balance. And that's where I would post all these things. And all my frustrations would go in there. And then, like, yeah, I would do that every now and then and still post like curated, semi curated stuff on Instagram. And then when COVID happened and we all turned more into, online community.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I might as well try this TikTok thing. Like, what is this all about? And I posted a video of like how to brush your horse's tail. And it went like crazy viral. And then I posted the behind the scenes, which was me putting shavings on my horse's tail. And people were like nuts about that. Like some were like, why are you doing this? This is hurting my brain. Other people was like, that looks like a person whose like ponytail is down, kind of like Ariana Grande. And I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this place? And then I just started posting like a mix of funny slash educational stuff. And I'm very into research and understanding the why behind everything we do. So I'm a big why person. So someone tells me I have to do something, I'm like, okay, but why? Like I need to understand.
Fair.
And that way it gets in my brain better. That's also how I teach when I tell people, okay, you need to, put your leg on before you take the reins. Okay, why? Okay, because you're
Mhm.
not going to have enough power and your horse is just going to fall behind your leg. And, but, I always I like, explain the why when I teach also. And I feel like it wires better. So that's how my brain works. And so there was a mix of funny, a mix of educational, entertaining bits and pieces behind the scenes. And this was all on TikTok. I was still
Okay.
posting like a very similar, nice and curated on Instagram. And
Mm.
then I was like, screw it. Like, this is not real. Like, this is not me. So I started cross posting. And then, both accounts really started doing really well. And people started responding really well to everything. And it was a mix of me having fun with my horses and
Mhm.
showing it and showing that there's more than to just be like a serious professional show jumper. Because part of this sport is having fun. And if it's not fun, then why are you like, I can't do it without it being fun and light and happy.
Yeah.
And plus, that's all you have when you don't have like results or when things don't go well. If you aren't happy with the process, then I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and I imagine there are a lot of people who probably didn't even know what kind of happens behind the scenes. Like you kind of see all the highlight reels from the show. Like there's so many incredible videographers and creators that are there to capture all of those wins and highlights and moments in the ring. But what happens when you go back to the barn and you're preparing for the next show?
yeah,
What does your day to day actually look like? And I think during that time in particular, people it was becoming less about perfect curation. People wanted to see the raw, real, who's the real person behind this brand.
yeah.
When you first started cross promoting between TikTok and Instagram, this is a question a lot of people have when they're comparing TikTok versus Instagram when they're thinking about marketing content in general. Do you remember if you took the same exact videos from TikTok and just posted them as is on Instagram, or have you noticed that you need to have little nuances between the two? Maybe one type of video performs better on one platform versus the other.
Yeah, it depends on how the algorithm's going, which is
Mhm.
the annoying part of social media. At
Yeah.
the beginning, it was like with TikTok, I mean, with TikTok, it's always been a little bit like a hit or miss. Like,
Okay.
you could post a really good video and it got to the right people and it blew up, or you could post something like, you're like, I didn't even think twice about this, and then it blows up and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Versus Instagram was always a little bit more uh, pretty curated, like
Mhm.
better imaging, versus TikTok, you could just post like without editing much and just be like,
Yeah.
blah.
No cover, no like real cover or anything
And
like
more
that.
like talking to the camera stuff that does usually better
Mhm.
on TikTok versus Instagram. And Instagram now, but it keeps changing.
Yes.
Before, Instagram was way more reliable. So you had 100,000
Mhm.
followers, and their content would get shown to those followers
Okay.
and then to other people. Now it's like it gets shown to a batch of people, maybe a little batch of your
Mm.
followers, but then if they don't really engage, it doesn't show it to more people. So
Interesting.
yeah, so more and more the first few seconds of your video are becoming key. And
Yep.
which it sucks because I know a lot of people, and like even for me, when I follow people, I want to see their stuff, but it doesn't show up if it doesn't do extremely well with the first batch of people they show it to?
Yes.
So before, it was a given, for example, that you would get X amount of views if you had X amount of
Mhm.
followers. That's a given. And then if the video would do really well, then it gets shown to more people.
Mm.
Now it's a little bit more like it's with TikTok, where it doesn't really matter that much, your followers.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, it'll get shown to them. But if the video's good, it's gonna do well if it hits. And if the video is not doing well at the beginning with the first batch of people it gets shown to, then it's just gonna get hidden.
Yeah.
Which it's good for smaller creators that are like trying to like get themselves out there, but it's not that helpful when once you're more established, because you've created a community
Mhm.
that wants to see your stuff, but then it doesn't get shown.
Yes.
But again,
And
you
it
have to keep adapting the whole time.
well, it sounds like now you could probably post without overthinking too much and just show what you really wanted to show. But now it almost sounds like you have to put more strategy into that hook and capture people right away.
Exactly.
And like you said, hook them within those first 3 seconds. So I imagine before, if you were posting just to post, now you have to put a little bit more strategy behind it.
And it's even more, at least for me, it's more annoying with carousel posts, because now
Um,
that's a big thing that Instagram's pushing.
yeah.
And before, maybe with the reels were more of you'd have to think about them more in Instagram. But now the carousel posts, like, they used to just get shown to your followers and a little bit to others, but because they're putting
Yep.
so much emphasis, they're doing the same thing. So if you post a carousel, it gets shown to not your followers, like a small batch of people who Instagram thinks is gonna be like a test, and then push it or not push it.
Yeah.
Which sucks because sometimes I'm sharing stuff that I know people want to see like my following, then
Mhm.
like they are only understand it because they've
Really?
been following me. But then I'm like, it gets 200 likes because doesn't get shown to my followers. It's getting shown to random people who don't understand. I'm
Yes.
like, ah,
Well, and I'm sure for you, having such a busy day to day in the barn, it's a lot easier, I imagine, for you to take a video, turn it into a reel, than it is to take a bunch of pictures, put them together in a carousel, maybe put some text over each image and think about which
yeah.
photo you're going to put in which position. So that,
Well,
that
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
it's a lot more strategy and thinking about it
Yes.
now, and um, again, like it keeps changing, so you have to keep adjusting, and
Yeah,
yeah.
you always have to be adapting. When you had that first video go viral on TikTok, did you how long did it take you to realize that that could be beneficial or really could turn into a personal brand, especially because it seems to have started a little bit accidentally. So what was that turning point where you said, I think I could actually create something out of this?
Yeah, I think pretty quickly, like pretty quickly, I started creating more educational and more posts like that, and then brands immediately started like reaching out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like
Do
when
you remember that first message that you got from a brand? Do you remember the first brand that noticed you and reached out?
I don't remember the very first one because while I was building like my social media stuff, I was also reaching out to brands with my potential. Even
Smart.
before, like to try to get sponsorships for tags,
Yeah.
for clothes, for all of these things that are like are so expensive and I couldn't afford. So even before I was already reaching, okay, like I'm from Chile, like this is my
Mhm.
goals, these are my dreams, like I am, getting better and better. Like, would you
Yeah.
sponsor me? And, a lot of brands took a chance on me when I didn't have a big following and I didn't have big results. And a lot of those brands I still work with.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then I don't know, I think just brands started reaching out and I realized like, whoa, like they would pay me and they would give me clothes and stuff to post. And that's when I was like, okay, there's something here. And there weren't many equestrian influencers at that time at all, at all. And
Yeah.
I was the only like professional equestrian that was also an influencer. Now there's a few more and like they're getting, the hang of it and the benefit of it. And like it's a
Mhm.
requirement for brands for you to post and stuff.
Yep.
Before wasn't. Like, athletes would just wear the stuff and maybe tag, but not promote them as much through social media as it is now.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, and then yeah, like kind of it's how I fund all of my stuff basically.
It's amazing. Yeah, you bring up a good point because on outside of the podcast, I have a design agency for the horse industry, Farm and Fur Co. And we work with a lot of riders looking to build a personal brand, a lot of young professionals that want to have a website established, have branding for their social media so that they kind of have a place to have all of their sponsors listed. And a lot of them struggle in the beginning to pitch themselves to sponsors because they don't necessarily have the show results yet to say, bet on me now because this is where I'm going. So it's smart that you did that from the beginning while simultaneously building your personal brand. If you were to think about these young professionals and young writers starting out now, would you recommend that as just a given for any writer looking to grow in the industry to build a personal brand while focusing on their writing?
Yeah, I think I mean you just need it at this point,
Yeah.
You need it to be able to get sponsors, to be able to get the visuals to so that people, so it gives you so many more opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, Especially if like you're not in a big financial situation, like if you need help, like that's how you do it. You reach out, you tell people why you, like what's special about you, like what are your
Yeah.
goals, like how are you as a person? And a lot of brands will say no, but then some will say yes, and then you just have to keep asking. I mean, I've sent thousands of emails, messages, and I've gotten so many no's, followed up, and then sometimes I get a yes, and sometimes I get a no again, then brands come back. But you just
Yeah.
have to keep trying. because someone's going to say yes. And if you don't ask, then you're never going to get a yes.
Yeah,
So, like,
it's
don't get
that's a good point.
discouraged, is what I would say, and
Yeah.
keep creating a brand that represents you, that is authentic, and that you have. I think the biggest thing is you have to have your values really clear, your values, your ethics, and
Mm.
what you represent. And for me, that was always honesty. I'm going to show you everything, the good, the bad, when I make mistakes, when
Yeah,
that was a big, big thing with me. Obviously, the horse first, but I also make mistakes, and I'm going to talk about it.
yeah.
And that's, I think, I mean, sometimes it sucks to see it, but I think it's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? As I was preparing for our conversation today, I was binging a lot of your content. And I know a big thing you focus a lot on is horse welfare. And you recently posted a video where it sounds like something was happening in a ring where you saw someone lunging a horse. And I do love and admire that you're not afraid to take a strong stance on something, because I think it just takes the fluff out of a person's content and allows people to really connect. And young writers, and any writer in general, should look up to someone like you who isn't afraid to stand up for the horse and what you believe in.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, and a lot of us are scared because they're like, okay, but who am I to say these things? Why should I talk? I don't know. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't.
Yeah,
I think that was the biggest thing. Like, I couldn't, if I didn't say something, I knew what I was seeing was wrong. I knew the horse was uncomfortable and scared.
yeah,
And if I didn't say something, like, I don't know how I would have, like, it just there, I was so angry and I was so anxious, and
yeah,
I couldn't keep lunging my own horse because I was watching this.
yeah.
And yeah, no, ugh, man, I was so mad. And it's
Well,
happened a lot. And for me at the lunging ring, it's a little bit easier to say stuff than when I see people riding and doing stuff wrong. That's a little
mhm,
harder to go up to the person and be like, hey,
yeah.
maybe you should. I've done that, but sometimes, that doesn't get, yeah, that's harder.
It's yeah. I mean, it can be so tricky to navigate, but all that to say, you've done a really great job building a community around those values, because you do, when you are thinking about building a personal brand, or any brand in general, you do have to have those foundational values and morals and ethics, so that people say, okay, why am I getting behind this person? Why am I so drawn to this particular person? So I think that's really good advice. Just know what you stand for, and know what you want to become known for in the industry, outside of just your achievements in the ring.
Yeah. And I think also, like, it can't all just be about sport, you know?
Good point.
There's so much more. And if
Yeah.
you're just worried about the sport and the results, you lose the magic of show jumping or of being with horses. You just lose it because you're focused on results. Like, your horse doesn't know if it won or it didn't win.
Yes.
It's not like any other sport. Like, he has no idea. Like, he doesn't know what any round necessarily means or how much. Like, yeah, they can feel their emotions, feel as like bumping up, but they're not like, okay, this round means that we get to qualify for this, and like,
They don't have that logic. And I think sometimes when your career and your income and your job become so closely tied to these animals that you now depend on, it could become easy to put so much pressure on them. But it's not really their problem to deal with at the end of the day.
yeah.
It's a lot of, projection of what we want from our career.
Yeah. That's why it's hard because, like you're saying, when your income, your career depends
Mhm.
on animals and depends on your results, like, obviously we've all been there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into the South American team, and like me getting hurt recently is like a big setback, or like my main horse getting hurt, like Juice not being able to go, which was the whole plan again, but like it's not his fault. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't do it on purpose. But yeah, definitely as athletes, we feel this pressure, and I can completely understand. But
Yeah.
that's where you have to go back to, okay, why am I doing this? Like,
Mhm.
get yourself back and focused and think about these are animals, you know, we can't put this much pressure on them. They are doing it for us.
Yeah.
If they didn't want to do it, they could just be like, okay, like
Yeah.
some people can force them, but it only goes so far,
Right.
and it's just not the right way to do things, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
No, I
yeah.
agree. Well, I mean, it's good too. Like that's all the more reason why you don't want to just put all of your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify how you can make money and how you can continue to grow in the sport. Would you say in the beginning you kind of felt as though you had to experiment with different types of content? And did you ever find that there was any content that you posted that maybe didn't hit or didn't land the way that you had hoped? Because I think a lot of times we see like, we really only see what's been successful, but is there anything that you've tried that just did not go how you maybe thought or hoped?
Um, yeah, I think you could say like recently I've tried to do more lifestyle, like outfits that are
Okay.
not horsey,
Okay.
and it doesn't do as well. I think because my audience wants to see horses, wants to
Yeah.
see, but I'm also into like fashion, so I'm trying to like mix it up in a way that is still me, but like people are like, okay, there's no horse here, I'm not interested. And I'm like, okay, fine.
That surprises me a little bit because I think in mainstream fashion, we've seen such a I think Yellowstone like really helped
Yeah.
bring a little bit of the I know that's Western, but a little bit of the equestrian flair into mainstream fashion. So that surprises me a little bit that your audience wasn't more interested in it.
I mean, maybe I just have to keep trying. I mean, it's part of what I like to do, so I'm still gonna post my
Yeah.
outfits, but but definitely I think for me, the like funny stuff with my horses does really well. Like when
Yeah.
I really focus on creating mostly original content. So I
Yeah.
do very little trends. I'll do them, but most of the time it's just ideas that I have in my head.
Yeah.
Like not chat GPT,
Yeah.
not just scrolling, like stuff that I'm randomly come up with because I don't know why. But whenever I'm in a moment of like zen, which happens a lot when I'm writing or when I'm away from my phone, I'll be like, "Ooh, I should do a video on this," or like have a question about. It's really random. I'll be showering and I'll be like, "Oh my god," like and then I
It
have
just
this
comes to you.
endless list of ideas. Like it's in my notes, thousands of ideas,
That's a
and
good hack. So take a little put a little note in your phone when you think of something so that you don't
yeah.
forget to do it later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do a mix of trends here and there, but most of the stuff is just things that I'm like, I want to share or I
Mm.
came up with, or like, all those songs that I've done. Like I can buy myself horses or horsey girl instead of Barbie girl. Those are just things that I was listening to the song and I was like, ooh, like this could work. My sister is a singer. So
Yes.
I have her sing my songs and I pay her to make the song.
Amazing.
And then I just like do it. And I have a few of those I haven't posted yet. Those are always super fun because it's original. I think more and more the original content
Yeah.
as
I
well.
think that will help people who feel sometimes pressure to just follow the trends or every trend you have to jump on the bandwagon. It sounds like you're more so looking to maybe set the trends than to follow them. You want to be the first. And they do say that. What's the saying? That 10% of the creators are creating 90% of the content that you see online. So I think that's a good approach. I imagine as you started gaining more visibility and having more brands reaching out, I imagine there were times where maybe some brands just weren't the right fit for you because you've talked a lot about being really authentic and I imagine you really only want to partner with brands that you actually use or believe in. So how do you navigate those conversations and how do you know when something isn't the right fit for you?
Yeah. So a big thing for me is obviously trying the product first, the product,
Yeah.
the outfits, like all of that. Like I can't just jump in, sign a contract without for a period of time, whether like whatever I think is needed, like whether that's a week, whether that's a month, like try out. Like when I switched tack sponsor. Like a big thing was okay, like these saddles are really innovative. Like I like where this is going, like but I need to try them. Um or when I've worked with different brands for like horse products, supplements, I went
Mhm.
through a couple brands for supplements, and at some point I was like, it's not working anymore,
Mm,
or I don't see a
mm.
difference in my horses, or maybe I started and I was like, no, I regret this. Like, and then sometimes you make mistakes, it does, it has happened to me where I partner with a brand and I think it's going to be a good fit. And then after a
Yeah.
while, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, can't do it.
Yeah.
Also, I think a big part of that is really reading through the contracts and making sure that there's an out in case something like this happens,
Smart.
in case you realize like, oh, that's not doing well with my horse
Yes.
or with me. I've also had brands, for example, send stuff expecting something in return, and
Mm,
then me having to be like, look, like I can't promote your products because they don't stand by the quality that I stand by, and I'm really sorry. Like I will pay to ship them back to you,
yeah.
but I can't promote this because it's not authentic. And that happened to me recently, actually. Like this brand sent a product over and I was like, okay, I'll try it. Like if I like it, I'll post a story and I'll include you in one of my reels. And I tried it for myself and I was like, no, can't do it.
Wow.
And so I had to send a message and I was like, I'm really sorry. I can't follow through with this because it's not the quality and standard that I want to promote. And I don't want to promote something that then people are like, oh, Gabby said this was good, buy it. And then be like, this
Yes.
sucks because that is just a taint for my brand.
Yes. It would then ruin your authenticity with your audience.
Exactly, and then I also don't want it to seem like I just get paid to post, and I'm
Yeah.
just posting stuff because I'm getting paid. Like, no, I'm
Mm,
posting stuff because these are things that I actually wear, and if
yes.
it's gonna be something that I'm not wearing, like, why do I wanna waste anybody's time,
Yes.
anybody's money, including the brands? Like, anything that I get that I post, it's because I actually like it and I'm gonna be wearing it. Like, I am also a big eco-friendly person, so I don't want anybody to send me clothes
Mm,
or products that I'm gonna wanna give away or throw out because it's a waste of, the planet.
yeah,
So,
it's true. You don't just need tons of boxes showing up at your doorstep with no plan on how to use them.
yeah,
I love that you mentioned about reading through the contract too, because I imagine creators getting started for the first time might be so excited to just have that first brand sponsor them that's something that they might just overlook just out of pure excitement, but it is so important, like you said, to make sure that you have that out because your audience and your community depends on that
yeah.
authenticity.
I think my advice would be one, like try the product first to make sure that you can do that
Yeah,
before you commit to anything, whether that's a supplement for your course, whether that's tack, whether that's clothes for you, like make sure you really like it and are
yeah,
willing to promote it, wear it out, you know, put your name behind it. And same thing with, yeah, like go through the contract, make sure that you're happy with it because everything's negotiable. Like, not because the
mhm,
brand says, like, this is not like you can always negotiate. And sometimes that's not the price. Sometimes it's the amount of pieces, the amount of content.
yeah,
Like, I took negotiations and I have a background in business. So that has really helped me being able to navigate all these partnerships.
yep.
Because sometimes you really want to work with a brand, but they don't have the budget. So then you find a different
Mhm.
way, or, there's always things you can do.
I
Nice.
have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Outside of the horse industry, this world of content creation is massive. I mean, there are creators making
Million.
millions of dollars, some of them, off of content creation. And I find that the horse industry can be a little bit slow sometimes to catch up to what's happening in more mainstream industries. Is there anything that you want brands to know about going into partnerships or sponsorships with creators or riders? Because I find with a lot of the clients that we work with on the Farm and Fur side, a lot of brands want to just send product, but they don't always want to pay for content.
Yeah.
But a lot of these riders are actually investing their own money into having professional videographers in the industry come and shoot
Yeah.
these videos with the product to give really high quality content. So is there anything that you wish maybe the horse industry would kind of catch up to when it comes to this bigger creator economy?
Yeah. No, I think this is a really big point that you're pointing out because and this is horrible, actually, but professional equestrians up until very recently, and very few of them get paid by their
Mm,
sponsors. So when professional athletes anywhere else get a deal, they don't just get free stuff.
yeah.
They get paid to market and to wear this product because it's a win-win for everyone. You see me
Yes.
wearing it, people want to buy it, and you post for it. You have to create content. You have to put your time and energy into that. And they, like athletes in any other sport, need sponsors to be able to afford what they're doing. And
Yes.
even more so in the horse world. I mean, we're a $300 billion industry. That's bigger than a lot more of the sports.
Agreed.
And the fact that professional athletes don't get paid by the brands is a
Mhm.
huge red flag, especially because the sport is so expensive. So it has been a big shift. And the fact of content creating has pushed on that because, like you're saying, now it's not just wearing it, it's
Yes.
creating content for those brands. So when I make deals with certain brands, I obviously, if it's a brand I really want to work with, I like I said, like I come up with different solutions. Okay, if you don't have the
Mhm.
budget to pay me, then I can't be exclusive, for example, because I'm gonna have to
Fair.
like have that funds from somewhere else.
Yep.
Or then maybe it's just organic content, but not dedicated specifically to your
Mm,
brand, because that means I have to spend time, energy. Like it's a lot finding time to be a professional show jumper, teach, and create content. Like I edit my videos myself. Like I sit in the computer or in my phone and edit these things myself. So it's a lot. And the reason I do it is because one, when I film content, like it's in my head a certain way, and I want it to
mhm.
be that way, and I want it to be as perfect for brands as possible. That's why it's hard for me to work with other people, because sometimes they just don't get the vision, and we kind of just get like stuck. Um, so that's one. And I just think that the content creating part has pushed brands, because then brands started paying, some brands at least.
Mhm.
And then other brands had to pay because they had the pressure, like of creators
Yes.
being like, look, no, I like your brand, but I also like this other brand, and that this brand will pay me,
Mhm.
and like it's, I think they just, maybe brands just think because like they ride horses, they have the money, so they don't need the funds. And it's like, no, like, especially professional athletes, like we really need your help.
Yes. In
Yeah.
in because the more focused you can be on growing as an athlete and not have to have all of these other little side hustles that ultimately will detract from that or take time away from that, the more you can continue to grow in the industry.
Yeah.
So I agree. I do hope that that's a shift that continues to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's a work in progress, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better and better. And I also understand like the products are very expensive in and of themselves. But also it happens in other sports, like in Formula One, it's way more expensive. Or
Oh,
like sailing is also very expensive. Like
yes, it's
we're not
true.
the only sport that's this expensive. It's just also
Yeah.
we have to make it more mainstream and
Mhm.
break those boundaries so that non-equestrians want to watch our sport and are able to understand it.
Well,
That's a
I think yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, and it's actually a good lead into something else that I wanted to talk to you about because it's pretty soon people won't just be able to watch your short form content; they'll be able to see you in a little bit more of a long form content and bringing your story, more mainstream even outside of social media. So I know next month in July you have a documentary that's coming out. How did this project come about? What has the process been like, and what can you share about the project and what we can expect to see?
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Like, I understand.
It's
Like,
really incredible.
like if you would have told me that somebody would ever want to create a documentary on my life, my story, years ago, I would have been like, "There's no way." Like, I'm not. Like, why? But it's happened, and it's almost ready. And I mean, the
Amazing.
trailer's coming out on Wednesday, so that's what,
Wow. Oh my God, in 2
2
days.
days. And we've been working on it since end of October of last year. We filmed through
Wow.
March. Um, and it's basically the first show jumping documentary tailored to equestrians and non-equestrians, explaining the sport in a way that if you've never encountered a horse in your life, you'll be able to understand it.
Amazing.
And it follows my journey from Chile. Like, we filmed in Chile. We went to the first place where I
Wow.
started writing. Like, you see everything, and it's unfiltered, it's raw emotion, it's what it takes to become a professional show jumper, and it shows you, the core challenge, why, like, it's called On the Fringe, and
Okay.
why I am an on the fringe athlete and what
Mm.
that means. Because at the end of the day, most of us are on the fringe. We're not there yet, and we don't have maybe the means or, the support that we need to get there, but we have the drive to do it and what it takes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's targeted for people with zero question background. The first few minutes are a little bit shocking because we do talk about, the costs in order
Hmm.
for non-questions to understand the struggle. So
Yeah.
core questions might a little bit be like, again, we're talking about this, but just push past that part. It's just the
No,
whole.
I think that it's important. I'm so glad that you mentioned that you're also looking to target non-equestrians because so much of the long form content that we see out there you it's almost created just for the horse people, and we're already fully invested in the sport and wanting to make it grow, but now we have to capture this bigger audience to continue to grow the industry. So I think it's so smart that you guys have that approach. How did this opportunity come about?
I've worked with Pegasus, the horse show management app,
Yep.
for a few years now. They interviewed me for a podcast.
Yep.
It was called The Oxer, and we were supposed to have the interview for the podcast, but we ended up talking about their app and their platform that they're building.
Hmm.
And they had been following me for a while, and I realized, I was like, "Whoa, what you guys are building is extremely necessary." Can
Yes.
we, like, stop talking about the podcast and talk about the fact that, like, I want to be part of this project? Because
Yep.
it's a horse show management platform that's really based on, for example, like Airbnb, where everything's simple. You
Hmm.
have all your data, you have all your horses' data, and then horse shows are on that platform and you can enter, and all you have to do is like click. You don't have to email your Coggins from one side, do entries on like 3 different platforms,
Yeah.
all of this stuff that is a
Streamlined.
pain
Yeah.
and horrible. I mean, we have apps from like the 70s, or like not even apps, like websites from the 70s.
It's not even an app, it's just a bare bones website.
And it's horrible. And then you try to follow the results and the time, and everything's wrong.
Yeah.
And the in-gate, you have to go to the in-gate to ask because nothing gets updated online. And we're in the 21st century. This shouldn't be happening anymore. And so then they told me their project, and I was like, wow, I want to be a part of this. So I became a part of the team, and I work with them
Amazing.
to, one, I work behind the scenes to help them improve their management app, and I do content for them.
Yep.
And last year I was in Kentucky, and I get a message from Sam and Jen, the co-founders,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Have you watched this documentary? It's called The Kid. It's on YouTube." I was like, "No, but I love sports documentaries. I'll
Mhm.
watch it." I watched it. It was really good. It was made by Brady Clayton.
Okay.
And I was like, "This is so cool." Like, and it's just on YouTube. And he was like, "What if we did a documentary on your story? Because we have a meeting with the director next week." And I was like, "What?
Wow.
What?"
Wow.
And they were like, "Yeah, I think this could be really cool." Never in my life did I actually think they were gonna go through with it. I was like, "Nah, like, there's no way." Like, seriously, like, one, it's probably gonna be so expensive. There's no way we can afford it. And two, like, I don't know. It just seems so far fetched. And then they had the meeting, and they were like, "Hey, like, I think we can do this. I think we can find the investors and we can do it. Would you be down?" And I was like, "Yeah?
Wow.
Like, are you kidding me?" Like,
Incredible.
of course. And it happened so fast. I mean, I was in Kentucky in July, August, September, and then we started filming in November. Like,
That
it
is
was
a really,
so.
really fast turnaround.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They got the investors, they, pulled the funds, and Pegasus organized the whole thing, and the director
Wow.
was super into the whole project, and it's basically a one-man project. He had 2 team members help him for some parts of it, but basically all him and is super high quality. And I was like, wow. And I just want to be able to break the equestrian sports glass ceiling of
Mhm.
rider only fan base,
Yes.
because that's, and if it's successful, like it'll show the sport in a really good light, and it'll show why people should care about it, why it's so special, why it's so hard, kind of following the same trend of like what Drive to Survive did for F1 in a way that, you know,
Oh, and look at that, look at how that's just completely blown up. I mean, the biggest celebrities in the world and the biggest influencers in the world are there and people follow it, you know?
exactly. So,
I love that story. Well, Jen and Sam are how we became connected.
yeah,
Love the two of them. I had no idea that they were so involved and were really the ones who got this off the ground.
yeah.
That's really, really cool.
No,
Amazing.
they've been awesome. They've believed in me since day one.
Yeah, they're
I've worked with
fantastic.
them since, they were, this is one is a tiny, tiny team.
Yeah.
And I want the platform to be successful because I think it's a necessity that we need. That's why I believed in them
Yes.
as well from day one. And we've created this awesome partnership that basically culminates in the production of this film that I think is going to change the way people see our sport, and it's just going to give insight of real, like how it really is, and like
Yeah.
pull the curtain on the sport in a way that brings the sport in good light, and how much we take care of the horses and what it takes.
Yeah, and everything that happens behind the scenes outside of
Mhm.
the ring because people don't realize when you're not at the show, there's so much that's happening leading up to that. And it seems like good timing too, because I know down in Wellington where you're based, there's a lot of new development that's going to be happening soon with the Wellington and the big town square. And I imagine that will bring a lot of tourism and non-equestrian tourism to what has kind of just been a small town and just a small hub just for horse people. So it sounds like you're right on the cusp of where the industry is trending. What this is just a little bit of a side note, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the development in Wellington, bringing in more people from outside of the horse industry, and how you maybe see that impacting Wellington as a town in the future.
I mean, actually, today I saw the plan because Wellington International sent a plan in the email, and I saw the whole, plan that they're doing. Obviously, I've
Okay.
been watching the construction every day as I pass by
Right.
it.
Yes.
Um, but I think it's great. I think
Yeah.
Wellington has expanded immensely. It used to
Mhm.
be, just one ring, and now it's
Yep.
so many rings, different disciplines. You have jumpers, you have
Mhm.
dressage, you have hunters, like, all the disciplines. And I think it's good that it's expanding because a big pain point is that we're all so, like, we're in the small place. It's so
Yes.
crowded because so many people come. One, because it's the best sport at that time of the year, and two, it's so cold everywhere else.
It's
So
true.
we all like conglomerate here, which is so fun and so great, but there's not enough space. So
Yeah.
that can be dangerous, and it's also super overwhelming. So the fact that they're able to expand is a really good point,
Yeah.
and that we get more fan base, like being able to reach further out. Like Palm Beach is so close, and
Mhm.
not enough people come and like even know about Wellington. A lot of the people that live in
Yes.
Wellington that are not horse people have never been to the show, which I will
Which
never
is crazy.
understand why you live in Wellington if you don't have horses. But
Seriously.
apparently the school system is really good. So, but yeah, I think it's really great for the community. It's great for the professionals to get better
Yeah.
eyes, and it's gonna be really, really good for the sport because I think the visibility is gonna push people also to do better in the horse world in the sense of horse welfare because
Yes.
eyes are on all the time,
Agreed.
and I mean, there's a lot of people that's the only way they're gonna change. The
It's
only way
true.
they're gonna change their ways, the only way they're gonna change their gear, the only way we're gonna evolve
Mm.
is if the eyes are on. If someone's always
Yes.
constantly maybe they're filming, like, and a lot of stuff has come out because people are more people are seeing it, filming and showing, you know, bad in our sport.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for the people that are doing it well, that kind of also taints it. But the more that we can share how a big majority of us, are trying to do the sport in the best way possible, the better it'll be. And it'll shine the light in the good people and hopefully change, the others. And I think a
Yeah.
big part of the reason why we have issues with horse welfare is because people around horses are not educated enough. And that's
Mm,
one of my biggest values is becoming better equestrians together. I was
yeah.
not a perfect, and I am still a work in progress. There's still a lot of things that I don't understand and I learn every day, but I am trying, and I am educating myself while educating anyone else around of the things
Yeah.
that I go learning in my journey. I think the more we can educate, because nobody is like, okay, let's teach you what to do when this happens with your horse, when this problem happens. Like, and you're just
Right.
trying to fix it. And before it was
Mhm.
like, if a horse did something bad, you had to punish them because you have to be the strong one. And,
Mhm.
you can't let your horse bully you. But now it's like, okay, maybe it's a pain point. Maybe the horse is trying to tell you something. Try to
Yes.
understand the horse. It's not like, try to understand their brain. It's not
Yes.
getting on and forcing them to do something because that'll only get you this far. But if you really want get a partnership with your horse and have a horse fight for you, you
Mhm.
have to do it the correct way, you know,
No, it's so true. So many behaviors are just a result of pain or being
or
uncomfortable.
or not understanding. That's a
Yes.
big thing. The horse most of the time, if you're not getting the result you want with a horse, it's either the horse not understanding because you're not asking the right way or the way that they would understand. Maybe for them it's different than any other horse you've done. Or they have pain and they're trying to tell you something like, "I can't do this," or "My muscles are not strong enough to hold this yet,"
Mhm.
There are so many things, and, like, sometimes we try to push past that too fast because we're thinking about the results, we're thinking about the next
Yeah.
show. So, yeah, it's a lot.
No, it's a good point, and again, these are just all things that your average person learning about the industry for the first time just would never know.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot.
do you guys have a release date for the documentary?
I think it's July 8th, I think.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's exactly a month from today when we're
Yeah,
recording.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
And when the documentary does come out, where will people be able to watch it?
YouTube. So you can share,
Fantastic.
anybody can see it from anywhere in the world. There's no, paid platform to go through. And we just want to reach as many people as possible to, educate and entertain.
Amazing. I can't wait to watch it.
I know I haven't even like I've just seen the first 2 minutes and the trailer. Like I
Oh my
a lot went
gosh.
down, like a lot of
You're
stuff
like, "Ooh,
worked.
how
Like
are they gonna put all of this together
I
in
don't that's
one
funny.
story?"
And there's also a lot of people that talked and I like that were interviewed and I have no idea what they said, Like my siblings are on there, like I don't know what they said. My
You're
parents,
like, "I don't know how this is
like my
gonna go."
boyfriend, they didn't let me sit in on any of the interviews. Only one because I had to translate, like but they didn't let me sit on any, so I have no idea what's happening, you know?
Well, we've talked a lot about authenticity in this conversation. They wanted those interviews to be very authentic
I
and
also got
no
mad at
pressure.
one point at the director, and you'll see that on the trailer because,
Oh my
like, they were not
gosh.
following the rules of being around horses because he was, like, very focused on filming and kinda, like, forgot that he's not supposed to go in the ring or in the warm up, and I was
Oh, wow.
like, "This is an FBI class, man, you cannot do this, like, this is my career,"
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
there was a lot of things happened.
Well,
But
it sounds like it will be a continuation of the real deal, the real life that people get to see on your social media, just in a longer format,
yeah, I really
which
can't
I
wait to see
think
what
you're
people
right.
think, like, if
Yeah.
it's good or bad feedback, like, I'm very intrigued to see what are the thoughts gonna be.
Yeah, I'm excited to see too what people outside of the horse industry think about it. I imagine people in the horse industry are just going to be obsessed and love it, but I'm excited to see the impact that it has outside of the industry and maybe generate some more interest.
Yeah, I think a big thing is going to be for questions when they ask you, like, "What do you do? Like, what is it?" And before we have to go on this whole rant, and maybe now I can just be like, "Look, just watch this documentary. It'll explain it all for you, then I don't have to deal with it." You know?
It's true. Well, we've talked so much today about your journey as a writer and a content creator, and now the feature of a full-length documentary. I would love to end with our final question that we ask every guest. If you were sitting across from a fellow equestrian entrepreneur, what is the biggest piece of your story that you would want them to walk away with and always remember?
I think what we talked about, doing the inner work to know what your values and what you want to share with people and who you are, is really important before you go out and share it, because that's what you'll become online. So, and it can evolve, that's also fine. But I think knowing what your message is and what your values are and like who you are is a really big part of creating your brand.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think being authentic is the other one, because brands want to work with you because you're different, because you're you, not because it's a cookie cutter, like everyone is the same, you know? And also, I would say, please don't get discouraged. Like, a lot of brands are going to say no. A lot of brands said no to me. You just have to keep working hard, stay in your path, stay doing what you can do to make it work, because that's, at the end, that's how I did it, and that's what I know at this point. And I always tell people, like, if you're struggling or you have questions, like, I check my DMs, you can reach out to me. It might take me a second, but I will reply.
And I know that's, it sounds like in the beginning of your journey, you weren't afraid to just send a cold DM and reach out to people.
Exactly.
So I imagine you want to pay that forward. And, a lot of the people that we've talked to on the podcast so far, it's such a big takeaway from so many conversations is people just not being afraid to put themselves out there and ask for what they want, even if they might get a no. Like you said, you will never regret just trying. And in a way, you almost can't build a brand until you really know what you stand for and what you want to become known for. You can't just be so fluid to the point where you can easily be influenced by anyone or anything, because then you'll never really become known for something. So I think it's fantastic advice.
Yeah, and I think the other part is, even from the no's you learn. Like, maybe from that conversation, you're like, maybe I should have taken a different approach. This works, this doesn't work. Just have to keep trying.
That's a good point. And be self-reflective. Be self-reflective without becoming discouraged.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Gaby, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to watch the full trailer. I'm so excited for the documentary to come out. I'll make sure that I put all of your links in the show notes for today's episode, and everyone can look forward to hearing your story in even greater detail just about a month from now in July.
So exciting. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.